recording here, guys. We're gonna hop into this. It is 8:38 here, so we need to get going on Studio Review. It is also 8:38, like I just said, so thank you for sticking around. I know it's late out there, so everyone probably all had a long work day too, running on fumes, so I appreciate it. I don't like to talk to myself. Well, that's kind of a lie, but it's nice to do some studio review with people actually here, especially a big group like we have today. So let's go ahead and do this. Hopefully everyone had a fantastic first studio. Everyone like it? Everyone have a good time?
Yes.
Yes.
Liking it? All right, good. That is what I like to hear. At least no one's like, no, I'm done with this. I'm out, and like a nice mic drop and walk out. So I'm happy everyone still got smiles. So let's go ahead and hop into.
You do know that Sean didn't do any of the work on the studio, right?
He didn't. Sean,
No.
TA Sean? Oh my gosh. TA Sean. So
We just got to know each other.
that's good.
Right, Alex?
You know what? I'm happy to do the work you didn't do, but that's good. No, it's good to get to know your group too, because you're going to be with all of them for quite some time. So, yeah, it's good to get those.
Will we be
icebreakers
doing
in.
lecture chat in here as well? Like whenever we're doing like studio review, or will we be chatting in that room?
So in this one, it's more laid back. So feel free to throw in lecture questions if you want to. I mean, if you want to do lecture chat just to talk, feel free to. I'm going to be looking at lecture questions, but also I'm not going to mute anybody unless it gets out of hand for whatever reason. But right here, we're just staying laid back. So if I'm going through something, you have a question, if you see a moment, feel free to just pop your question in, and we'll go a little bit more in depth. But we're going to be sticking primarily to studio here. So any of the material that's covered in the studio, make sure our questions pertain to that. Unless there's like some case that, or some questions that you need to have. But yeah, we're gonna be chill, laid back. Everyone grab their snack, grab their water, and let's dive into studio review here. Right out of the gate, okay, so I'm already sharing here. Right out of the gate, any big questions about the studio or anything that you all would want me to focus on as we move forward? Anything in particular?
Read, light, and sync.
Read, line, sync. Oh, yes. All right. Deal. All right. So what I'm looking at here on my screen, or what you're looking at on my screen here, is Canvas. We have two links. The first link is the studio link to the actual to the actual guide. So here we're in 4.10 for this. Perfect. And then I saw there was one more link in there. This one says you can access the starter code from the instructions page. Or you can fork the starter code here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on that Replit link. It's going to lead me into here. I don't know where you're doing that. There we go. It's fork Replit in the top right. I'm going to click that. I'm already logged in, I believe. Yeah, awesome. So it's going to copy this over here. It is the studio data and variables studio 1. Cool. So I'm in Replit here. If anyone had any troubles with that, feel free to go over your TA or ask me. But yeah, you should be able to log into Replit and have that forked over. Always make sure you fork your stuff too in Replit, and anywhere else you see fork, it's always safe to do that forking, which just means basically making a copy onto your own repository or your own area. It is a way to keep our code separate. All right, who's ready for the first studio? Ready? Set? All right, let's do it. 4.10 studio data and variables. In the studio, you're going to be writing code to display the very important launch code checklist LC04. LC04 displays information related to the space shuttle, astronauts, and rockets before the launch. All right, wow, that was good. We already got off to a good, strong start. 4.10.1. Before you start, use the starter Replit file to complete the studio. Oh my gosh, self high five. We already even forked that. We are on a roll, on a 4.10.2. Declare the initialize, or declare and initialize the variables. Declare and initialize a variable for every data point listed below. Remember to account for the different data types. That looked like, or it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a lot of variables there. So let's go ahead and start declaring and initializing them. Have you ever had to ask yourself exactly what is the difference between declaring and initializing a variable? Declaring is another, or basically a synonym for creating the variable. We're saying let blah, blah, blah exist. That's declaring it. And then initializing, it means, all right, this thing exists, but now I want to actually put a value inside of it. So that's initializing the variable. So we're going to go ahead and start out here with this variable date. So what I'm going to do is that I see date and I see a value in here. Now the question is that, okay, I see this stuff. Is it one or the other data types that we know? We know of two data types right now, which is a number and a string. Can anyone tell me exactly what this value would be?
String.
Give me a string. And what denotes strings? If I come over here to my replit, so I'm going to call let date
Let
equal, and then I want to
quote.
create a string. We want quotes. Awesome job. And as you guys will find out, thank you, by the way, for joining this studio review. You find out a lot about Kyle during these studio reviews, and Kyle is extremely lazy. So Kyle's going to copy this and write it in, and he's going to paste it into those quotes. So yes, you are absolutely right. It is a string. So we denote that with quotes around our value. As we see, it's red here. So perfect. Let me make sure I'm actually down here in the correct area. Okay, awesome. All right, let's go ahead and keep going here. So we have the time, and again, I'm going to copy that value there. So I'm going to say let time equals, there we go. Awesome, in quotes, and astronaut count. Astronaut count is a little bit different. It is
It's a number. So
there we go. Astronaut count equals, yes, we come over here and we see that it is just the
it's a
number 7.
number.
When it is only 7, or if it's only a number, we can, with much confidence, know that it is just going to be a number. We don't want it to be a string. So that being the case, I'm just going to put the number 7. One thing I do want to call out here is that we have a dash there. So that was my mistake. I want to switch that over to an equal sign. All right, let's keep going down here. I see astronaut status, and it says ready. Ready is a word, alpha character. So what we're going to say is let astronaut status. Very good. It is a string. So we're going to say ready in there. Awesome. I also can't spell astronaut, and you will also learn that because I will always copy anything that says astronaut because I lost the spelling bee in 7th grade. I've never got over it. Still can't spell vacuum. Definitely can't spell astronaut. But it's easy now because you can just copy it. So the next thing we're going to copy is this average astronaut mass kg, kilograms. And I see that's 80.7. 80.7, though it's a decimal, is still a number. So perfect. We're going to come over here to the studio, say let that equals 80.7. Awesome. And now what I'm going to do is that we already know our stuff here from R5, so we're going to go down to crew mass kilograms. And did I hear a question back there? Okay. So I'm going to say let crew mass kilogram equal that. And then also, we don't have a value here. Now we have a mathematical expression. Though there's no numbers in it, we have variables. If we remember from our algebra back in 8th grade, RIP the good old days when youth was still in my eye, we had astronaut count, or we have variables like A and B inside of our mathematical expressions. But instead of A and B in 8th grade and that one teacher in the front that gave you that green slip / detention that one time and you never got over, we are going to be using variable names that we've created in our code inside of that mathematical expression. So right here, we see astronaut count and average astronaut mass kg, kilograms. I'm going to copy that and bring that over to here. We saw this in lecture. What we're doing is reutilizing variable names. We're calling them out. We're saying, I want the value of astronaut count, which up here is 7. And it's saying I want to multiply that by average astronaut mass kilograms. I'm calling out that variable up here, 80.7. Now remember, we know this is going to be okay because astronaut count and average astronaut mass kilograms is below those two variables that it utilizes. Sequentially, we know that if we start on line 1 and we get down to line 8, those two variables are available. We're not going to get in there here. Just to make sure, as we move forward in our code, and this is a big thing, as you move forward in your code, always test it out as you move forward. So run it, just because we're taking baby steps. If you get 8 steps into your assignment, you press run and it's broken, you have no idea which one of those 8 steps made you have that error. So make sure you're always testing your code out as you move forward. I see from Jerome here, how do I fix the spacing in console.log print statements, and how do I submit my studios exercises once they are done? You're going to go ahead and feel free to ask your TAs for any more explanation, but your studios and exercises, the links for those replets should always be submitted in your Canvas. For the spacing in console.log, I would have to know more clarification around that one particularly. So is it spacing on the sides? Is it spacing up and down? Jerome, did you want to give me a little bit more context about that? All right. So we're going to move forward then. Fuel mass kilograms. Let me know, Jerome, if you do have more context around that. I'm happy to help you out with the spacing. I just need to know a little bit more which side the spacing is on and what the context is of the problem. All right, we're going to keep going. Fuel mass kilograms here. So I'm going to go a little bit faster just because we have a lot of variables to go. So fuel mass kilograms, and I see we have 706, 760,000, what are we doing, kilograms. Wow, can't talk today. But one thing I want to point out is that they have a comma in here. We do not do commas in coding. We have to translate that into something that a computer will actually understand. So take out those commas, make sure they're not there. All right, onto the shuttle mass kilograms. Say let as always, because we're creating all of these variables, a ton of variables. And like I said, I'm going quick because I do not have to do this. Let total mass kilograms here equal. And also all of these variables, I'm going to just paste that in there to save us a little bit of time. But crew mass kilograms, fuel mass kilograms, and shuttle mass kilograms are all declared above as we just saw that. Fantastic. Also, I'm seeing that I'm doing this under the wrong comment. So what I'm going to do is Control X off that and declare all my variables under the correct comment, which is right here. Is that going to take off any of my code, like my scores? Am I going to make my replit blow up? No, you're completely fine. Just putting it under the comments because Kyle has OCD also. Look at that, 3 Kyle facts in only under 15 minutes. Aren't you all lucky? So that's what I just put it under there. You're all good. We're going to keep going here. Let fuel temp Celsius equal, and then get that value. Isn't declaring variables so much fun? Is everyone just having a grand old time right now? Yeah, Kyle, we love it. I know, it's so fun. All right, continuing on here. We got the fuel level 100%. And luckily, I accidentally copied that over, so I'm just going to use this stuff. Let fuel level equal 100%. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, I'm going to comment this out with 2 slashes there, so it turns gray and it won't actually be counted, is that we have 100%. Now, percent always exists in mathematical concepts or whatever. Like percentage, we know what percentage is, but the percent sign is something human readable. Percent signs is something just human readable. It denotes what the actual value of this thing is. So 100% in true mathematical form is actually 1. So for right now, 100% is to me 1. If it said 90%, it would have been 0.90. If it was 5%, it would have been 0.005. Oops, sorry, 0.05 for 5%. But it was 100%, so we make it 1. And then finally, our last variable here, the weather status. Look at that. Weather status equals, and then clear is a text, so it is a string. So we wrap it in quotes. And just like that, launch coders, we have 12 beautiful variables declared. Any questions around any of those? Yes, Hannah.
I put 100%, but I use the percentage sign as a string. Like, you know, when you output it, console.log.
Mm-hmm.
So I just said, let fuel level equal to 100, like a number. And then when it comes to the output, when I use the console.log, I just put, you know, plus and use the percentage sign as a string. And I guess it worked.
Yeah, so that could work depending. I don't exactly know. I don't remember the studio, so I don't exactly know how this percentage is going to be used.
Okay.
So if it worked for you, that's completely fine. That's good.
Alrighty.
So, but one thing I do, oh yeah, go ahead. Oh, well, give me 1 second, Christopher, and I'll
That's
hop on
fine.
that. But yeah, for percentages, if you're given a percentage, it's most likely going to be used somehow in a mathematical way. It's going to be used in some kind of expression. It's going to try to multiply 100% to something. So why I'm telling you this is that if they give you a percentage, or if anybody gives you a percentage, you're most likely going to be adding it or multiplying it to something. So don't make it a string, because we can't add and multiply strings very well together. It's more safer to do that in a number. So when I see 100%, I'm more inclined to make it a number, not exactly a string. If I need to make it a string, I'll make it later. So it's just a call out. If it works, it works though, which is the greatest line of anything coder-wise.
Sorry.
But, yeah, no, you're all good. Yeah, so if it works, it works. But always remember, try to make your percentages numbers instead.
Sure. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Christopher, I'm sorry for cutting you off there. What was your
Oh,
question?
you're good. It was, I guess it's kind of a question. So it's related to that. In that situation, I understand that we were looking for number and I wasn't actually aware how to put a percentage in there. So you answered that question. Thank you. But for things like this, I know it's not graded, but it's understood that we will be making mistakes like that. And are we going to be judged against it, having I not known that before?
No. So this class is not judging you on how you write your code. This class is looking to teach you through mistake. Every coder is built by not reading a book necessarily, but building upon their wisdom after reading and trying it out. So no, you're completely fine. No one's going to judge you against you for making it a string, for making it the number 100 or 1. I'm here just to show you what I've learned in the past to help you and make recommendations. So
Okay.
in coding, and this is to everyone out there, and I will consistently tell you all this throughout lecture and our studio reviews, is that coding is like painting. There is a million ways to paint a tree. All of them will look like trees, all of it will work out to be trees, but coding is just like that. There are a million ways to accomplish some kind of mission or some kind of end goal. So as we saw with Hannah's solution, it completely works. I'm going to take a different solution. As long as in the end it works properly, that's all that matters. So yeah,
Okay.
approach the problem however you want. As long in the end it approaches it in an appropriate way. And the word appropriate, of course, is very gray zone, and we'll learn what that means as we move forward in our classes. So
Okay,
great
thank
question.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, any other questions before I move forward? All right. Sounds like that was a clear to the throat, so I will take that as not a question and keep going to 4.10.3, generate the LCO4 form. Display the LCO form in the console using the variables you declared and initialized. The generated report should look exactly, in italics too, so they really want it exactly like the example below, including spaces and symbols, dashes, little pointy brackets, and I think that's an asterisk. All right. Sounds good to me. 4.10.3.1, example output. Note that your output should change when you assign different values to astronaut count, fuel mass, kilograms, etc. The point is to avoid coding specific values in the console log statements. Use your variable names instead. All right, so I'm given this gigantic thing that I have to copy. So typically I could go line by line, switch back and forth between my tabs, but again, very lazy. I don't want to do that tabs because that's a whole extra click. Do you know how long a click is? It's at least 5 milliseconds. That's a lot of time. So what I'm going to do is copy that and bring it over to my studio. And I am going to do a block comment. Block comments are done by an slash asterisk and then ends with an asterisk slash. Inside of here, I can put as much commenting as I want. One thing we didn't cover in lecture is what exactly is a comment? Well, you're getting introduced to them right now. All this gray text here that you can barely read because we're going through a Zoom share screen is a comment. Comments are things that are neglected by the compiler or the computer when it's running your code. So basically say, oh, that's a comment. I'm skipping this. That means nothing to me. Comments are for human readable stuff. So I'm going to paste this entire thing in here and create this so I don't have to click tabs back and forth. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I see first that I need this line here. So what I'm going to do, it said it doesn't want any hard-coded strings in there. It wants us to use variable names. So I have a bunch of lines in here. If I see repetitive things, like these lines, like everything needs a line, I'm going to make a variable for it and just utilize that later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this let line equal quotes, all these dashes there. Now, if you directly put these dashes into a console log, no one's going to yell at you. I'm just showing you just a way that if you didn't want to do that every single time and copy and paste it, this is one way you could possibly do it. All right, so now I'm going to start writing the output screen. I see that it wants me to write this line. So what I'm going to do first is say console.log, and I'm going to say, I want to print out that line, please. And it's going to be like, okay, cool, Kyle, you're fine. Let's do that. So the next thing I'm going to do is it needs this line right here. So I'm going to copy that in console.log. This is not repetitive. This is a very specific text. So I'm going to actually just paste that in there directly. And then put another line. All right, I've written 3 lines of code. Like we said, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. Let's see how our code is doing. We're gonna come over here, and I see that, wow, look at us. We got a title. Isn't that cool? Right, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
everyone. Exactly. If your mind's not blowing, I don't know what to do. All right. We are writing things out to a screen right now. All right. Let's go to date and time here. So what we're going to do is say console log. Now we can do this in two different ways. I'm going to append these strings. So I'm going to say date colon plus, and then put my date string here. So this is one way I could do it. So what I just did is that I added two strings together. When two strings are added together, two words are added together, think of a title saying the fox. If I have a variable that says the and a variable that says fox and I add them together, that's going to come up with the title the fox. That's appending, that's adding two strings together. So we're going to go and run that, and we see now that our two strings are appended. Our date variable that has Monday 2019 at a certain time, and the date. So we say date colon Monday at that specific date. So this is appending two strings together. It's awesome. Let's come down here and we'll see one more way we can add a string together. So we say console.log, and now I'm going to do a different kind of tick. I'm going to do a tick on the top left, which was underneath the tilde on your keyboard. They're going to be more sideways ticks. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to say time colon, and then this is called a string literal. So in order to insert information into a string, or my string literal here, what I'm going to say is $ curly bracket and curly bracket, and then insert the variable I want to include. In this case, it's going to be time. So in here, it's saying, okay, I want you to build the string that just has my hard-coded text. Hard-coded just means written out. Time colon, and then $ curly brackets with time in there. Now, we haven't gone over string literal. So if you haven't seen this yet, don't worry about it. I just wanted to show you two ways to build strings. Don't read too much into it. We're just seeing different ways to explore that other people might have done during this studio. So this second one was called the string literal. We run this, and now we see our date right there, and our time is right below it. Awesome. We're well on our way. Any questions up until this point before we continue?
Yeah, so with the you said it's like the before time. What exactly is that? It's not in parentheses, it's like a...
You're talking about this line 25?
Yeah, that line right before the first time. It's not a parentheses, it's like a sideways dash.
Are you talking about these little guys right here?
Yes.
Yeah, so those are little ticks. I'll refer to them as ticks. They're going to be on the top left of your keyboard below the tilde. You would typically find it underneath your escape key as well.
Yeah, there, yes.
I have a question. Why is there a big space between before time?
Right here?
Why is there a big space before time, before 10, 5?
Oh, we're talking about right here? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. Oh, because time has a, because I copied the wrong stuff. It's up there. There we go. Very good question. Yeah, there we go. Now it looks a little bit better. Yeah, there's an extra space in my string up there. So awesome catch, because it has to be exactly. So very good catch. Jack, does that help you out? Did you find the tick?
Yeah, I realized I don't have it on my keyboard, so I think I have to pull out the second keyboard. Let me see.
Okay, yeah, you might need a key 105 US version in order to have fun with that. But, or was it 103? I always forget.
Would there be another way to print that out without said tick?
It might be somewhere else on your keyboard. But it is also a rare character, so if you have like a smaller keyboard for faster typing, sometimes they don't include them. The best you can do is maybe copy and paste it from another site. I've seen people do that before.
All good. I got.
Not sure if there's an alt code he could use for that.
There probably is. Yes, it's probably somewhere. I don't exactly know.
And you can also bring up the character map. The character map will let you copy that character out if you really need it. So you can basically keep that one character on copy paste and use it a bunch.
Yeah, or the onboard keyboard, or on the on-screen keyboard too. I believe you can change up that depending if you.
I got it on the second keyboard I had handy. Fortunately,
cool. All right, awesome.
Sorry, just real quick. What is the tick used for? I don't know if you said that or if I catched it.
Yeah, absolutely. Tick denotes a string literal. What that means is that a string literal, as we saw here, I can put in a variable inside the string with a $ curly bracket. If I change this tick to just a single quote, it has no idea what I'm talking about anymore. As we see, it all just turned into red. So for the string literal, we need to have that tick in order for this to work. So it tells our code, our computer, that, hey, I want you to do a very special kind of string, a string literal. Again, we haven't learned too much about this, so again, don't read too much into it, but I wanted to introduce you guys really quick. Here we go. Just so you all are familiar with it as we move forward. We'll go through it within lecture 2. But does that help you out, Christopher?
Yeah, it does. I'm just trying to get things inside my head so when I see it again, I understand it a little bit better.
All good. Awesome. Perfect. Perfect. All right. No other questions. Keep moving forward here. Is a console.log. Well, I just did an empty open and close parentheses here is because there is a space below here. So I no longer want to do that. Or sorry, I don't want to have any kind of text there. I just want an enter. So I say console.log, just give me a new line. And then it comes up to astronaut info. So let's go ahead and do that. So it's a console.log. I need to write something here. So I see it's a line. So I say line. Awesome. And then I say console.log once again. And I can say astronaut info and kind of copy that. I'm going to put in a string, hard code that, console.log. Line, awesome. All right, and we're going to keep going down here. Does the tick is the button on the top left of your keyboard below the tilde, below the escape. Typically not the apostrophe button. Unless you're talking about the apostrophe button that is, it is not the apostrophe button that is next to your return key on the right-hand side. It might be the back tick. I just called it tick. I don't exactly know what the proper name is. Sean, I saw that you were on the call. Do you remember what the exact name of that character is?
I have a big mouthful of food. You timed that perfectly.
Ah, lucky. No worries.
And no, I don't know the name of it.
Okay. Real quick, I'm
technically back tick.
Is it the back tick?
Don't
Okay.
back tick.
Back tick. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Clark. Okay. I was about to like get out my Google. It's like, I don't even know how to phrase that Google question. It's like, what is that one apostrophe that's not an apostrophe? Okay, all right. So Diaz, the back tick, it denotes a string literal, and a single quote or a double quote will denote just a typical string. So they are different. So back ticks, string literals, while the single quotes and double quotes is just a typical string. So just to clarify, yeah, I'm hoping that it is coming across there. Okay, tick versus back tick. Okay. I'm trying to follow. I'm making sure I'm following here just to make sure. But the tick that we use to make a string literal, the back tick is what we've come up to. Yeah, the back tick creates a string literal, while a single quote or double quotes, which is next to the semicolon button between the return button, is what I'm calling quotes and double quotes. They are different, as long as that's okay. Yeah, so tick and back tick are exactly the same. I'm just using those words interchangeably. I'll try to start using back tick instead. So yeah, tick versus back tick, they're the exact same. Awesome. All right. What I'm going to do now, though, I'm going to just be appending it with the plus button as we move forward. So I see star count, and I'm going to bring in that count variable up here. Awesome. All right, console.log. And then we're going to keep on going here, everyone. Just get us back on track. There we go. I love where we're at, too. We're getting some awesome questions here tonight. All right. Astronaut status. There we go. All right. And then we have an empty line in here as well. So we didn't do anything too new from the previous ones. All we did was we appended our string to an existing variable, and we're printing out to the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and run this and see how we're doing. Looks like we're doing good with our checklist. We're going to keep writing this up. So we are done with astronaut info. So I'm going to copy this fuel data. We're going to go into fuel data. So console.log, we had 2 lines wrapping them. So we say line here, console.log. I'm going to hard code this fuel data. And then console.log line. Awesome. All right, and then what do we need? We need our fuel temp Celsius to negative. Okay, awesome. So that's going to be interesting there. So we can say console.log, hard code this in, And it says we need to do -1 or -225 there. So copy that in. But it said we also need to put this C here. So what I'm going to do is add another string to this and say C. And make sure I have a space there because it looks like there's a space. So I just appended 3 strings together. Two strings together with a number in there. So now we see fuel temp Celsius to -225 C. That's how we did that. We can still add numbers and strings together, append them together. JavaScript's going to just say, all right, I'm going to treat it as a string and throw it in there then. And therefore, we create our full text just like that. All right, on to fuel level 100%. So it says console.log. And I can see where you are going with this, Hannah, I believe. For the fuel level, I see 100%. So Kyle, your original hypothesis was kind of wrong. And I was like, yeah, it kind of was. But you know what? That's the fun of coding. You don't pay for the lines of code or the mistakes. Doesn't even matter. So what I'm gonna do is say fuel level times 100 plus a percentage. Why not? You can do it that way. So let's see what this looks like. I'm gonna put parentheses around here just to say I wanna do the multiplication first and then my other stuff. Run that and look at that, fuel level colon 100%. Now, if you just did one and you just said 100 here and you took out this stuff and you just said fuel level plus percentage, that's fine too. Just showing you different ways you could do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, is it proper? No. Oh, what is the order of operation? What's that word for order of operations? Like parentheses?
PEMDAS.
What was it?
PEMDAS.
PEMDAS. Yes. Yes. By the way, coding goes off the PEMDAS way. So if you do parentheses around something, the computer's going to see you did parentheses around that, do whatever's in those parentheses first by the order of operations, and then work its way out. So that's why I put those parentheses around this. So it does the multiplication first, even though it would do technically the PEMDAS. I just have like just a thing in the back of my neck. Like you never know what JavaScript's going to do sometimes. So I just put that parentheses around there just to make sure that it does actually do that first. So we are good there. So we're going to keep on going down. So console.log, close parentheses, because we did a space there, and on to mass data. Awesome. We have 2 lines, so console.log online. Console.log, hardcode our stuff in there. Line. And what else does this one need? Mass data. So we have the crew mass. Oh, so much stuff. All right. We're going to do the crew mass. Go plus. Oh, I'm going to put a space there. Crew mass. And look at that. It is very nice that I don't have to go up there and keep looking because Replit actually helps me out just a little bit by showing me the variable names I've already declared above, which helps out so much. So I put fuel mass in there. I know it's got to be something like fuel. So I say FU there, oh, I need mass kilograms, sorry. Mass. There we go. Thank you, Replit. Console.log. Total mass. There we go. Plus shuttle mass kilograms. Awesome. And then one more. I know it's super exciting to watch me type out all this stuff. Total mass. I think we already added that above too. Total mass kilograms. Awesome. We have added it. All right, run it. Looks like we have that next section done. Let's keep going. Flight plan. Copy that. Console log 2 lines out. See how much time that takes? I know it's only 5 milliseconds to go back and forth, but things add up. And I forgot to place a line there. And last one. I got the line in there. Awesome. And then I already saw that, so it was console.log the weather. Cool. Weather, and then assume it's weather status. There it is. All right. I think that's all we needed for that one. So I'm going to put a blank line, and then continuing on here for overall status. Oh my gosh! You know what we're going to do? We're going to copy this because I don't know how much typing there's in this one. Yeah, right. A coder doesn't like to type. Isn't that just cliche? All right. And overall status. Okay. I haven't even eaten yet. Would anybody got an idea what I should eat for dinner? I think like pizza. I like chocolate chip cookies. I'm just playing that as a meal. All right. Ooh. Emos. Nope. We're not started. We're not started because I'm on recording right now, but no. Absolutely not.
I made some brownies today. I'll send you one.
Oh, please, please, please. All right, ready for takeoff. Astronaut. Okay, so I don't see anything in there. So it just says clear for takeoff, yes. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't see anything in there that tells me yes. So I'm just gonna say yes. Yeah, sure, clear for takeoff. Why not? Perfect. We have our stuff written out there. Awesome. That was a lot of typing there. Any questions about any of the things that we just went over?
Yeah, do we have to turn this in by midnight? Is that online?
So what you're going to want to do is that you're going to copy the red link and then place it in your canvas so it is deemed as done. Ask your TA for specific instructions because I don't exactly know how to do it on the canvas side. They changed it since I was in there. So ask your TA how to do that, or if Clark's on the call too.
I am on the call. So studios do not have to be turned in. It's best practice to turn it in because it's a method of accountability. And like, if you're like me, I'm very lazy. If I don't have that accountability, I won't do it. So, so the due date of midnight is arbitrary. You should turn it in to indicate that you tried it. It does not have to be perfect. It does not even have to be totally done. We want to know that, like, when I'm looking at Canvas and I'm looking at your grades, seeing that you've repeatedly turned in the studio shows me that you are actively trying every single day.
Okay, cool, thank you.
One quick question, because Sean used our studio more to get to know each other, and it's been a long night. I hate to complain. So if I attempt this tomorrow, that's
absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Do it when your brain is fresh.
Because it's not fresh right
Nope, you're totally fine if you want to come back to this tomorrow with a fresh head and think about it then.
And then Kyle, you're posting this so I can still follow along with your guide, correct?
Yep. All these recordings will be available tomorrow morning.
Perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I have a question. I submitted the URL, but then I noticed a mistake, so I changed my code a little bit. I just added the capital C for the temperature. So that's fine, right, Clark?
Yep. So if you've ever used anything you do on your Replit, it updates in real time. So even though you submitted that link, the updates you made will be reflected. Like when I look at the link, I'll see all the edits you made because it's constantly saving itself.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I kind of have a question on this too. So whenever Haley opened up a Replit for us all to kind of participate, she sent us a link. Would I send that link?
You could. Yep. You could turn that link in. You could also fork that Replit onto your own Replit if you wanted. But she used a multiplayer link. Multiplayer links work weird, and I don't quite remember. Just you can turn in the link that you all coded together.
Awesome. All right. If there's no other questions, we're going to keep moving on because we are done with our liftoff checklist.
Yes, I have questions.
What's going on?
What's recommended to do between now and the next lecture? Like, is the point to maybe spend the next day or two refining your skills with the studio, or are there other things that we should be doing?
So there is prep work for class that's due for class 2. So if you go into Canvas, you'll see some prep work due for class 2. Whatever you always want to do the reading, the concept checks, and at least attempt the exercises before class.
Okay.
So sometime before Thursday, get into Canvas, look at what's due for class 2, take a look at it, do the reading, try the exercises, and then also, but if you want to like redo some of the studio or do more exercises, or just honestly, the best thing to do is just play around. If you just want to play around by creating new variables, using some of the skills you've learned, that's also a great use of your time.
Okay. So the space, I mean, the days between the Monday and Thursday class or Thursday and Monday class isn't to kind of necessarily to take the time to do the studio that was for the previous lecture, but more so do the exercises and attempt the studio for
We
the
don't want you
following.
looking at the studio before class. So the studio for like class 2, I don't want you to look at it until class, because studio is really, so here's kind of here's the order. So you do the reading, and then you get the concept checks, and the concept checks are harder than the reading because they require you to do something with the knowledge you've learned. And then the exercises are a little bit harder than the concept checks. And so we understand that you're going to try those, and they may be kind of dicey. And then the studios are harder than the exercises. So that's why we give you the small group work. You have access to your TAs. We want you to do those as a method of like learning how to learn together with each other, from each other. And then finally, there's graded assignments. And graded assignments are the hardest of all. They're harder than studios, and they're meant to kind of capture everything you've learned up to that point.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Awesome. And yeah, if anyone else has questions out there, feel free to, and Clark, I'm throwing you under the bus here, but feel free to throw them at Clark and also myself too. I know this is your first lecture. You probably have a lot of questions. It will all come to light here eventually, but no, these are great questions, and keep throwing them over to Clark and myself. Awesome. All right. And just a heads up to everyone, I know it's getting late. So again, these recordings are going to be out there, but if you want to stay on and ask questions, feel free. I'm going to be working through the studio all night, so don't worry. I'm right here with you. But just in case, grab another cup of coffee because we got some more stuff to do. So let's keep on going. Unless there's any other questions out there. I don't want to cut anyone off.
No, but I do want to point out that, you know, for class 2 on Thursday, there is a lot of work. So you'd have to keep going forward rather than back, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't fall behind. I guess there's one thing I didn't call a lecture. Never fall behind. Keep working ahead.
And something that I kind of try, sorry to cut you off, Kyle, didn't mean to. Something I am a completionist. I am like the kid that wanted to get a gold star on everything before I moved on. That's not how you want to approach coding. Like, it's okay if you're like 80%, it's okay to keep going. Because like you are going to initialize 1 million variables by the time you finish this class. So like, you feel pretty good about variables, you feel pretty good about this. Don't feel like you have to be like 100% before you go on to read the next chapter. Because you are going to continue, these skills all build off of one another. So like, it's not, you have to do all of the work and get it perfect. It's, you need to try it. And then realize how the things you learned last week builds on what you learn this week.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. No. All right, everyone. We're going to keep going forward here. So we are all done with the checklist too. And also, again, thank you for all those questions. Again, keep throwing them at us. And Clark, thanks, by the way, for sticking on this call and just answering all those. Because I would have been like texting, I would have been slacking you that like immediately whenever I got asked. So thank you very much for sticking around. All right, on to 10.4, on to 4.10.4. Yes, it is that time. Kyle's mental level is like decreasing quickly. So we got to get this going. 4.10.4, show off your code. Oh, love to. When finished, show your code to your TA so they can verify your work. Oh, Clark, you might have to verify my code here just in case. If you do not finish before the end of class, log into Replit, save your work, complete the studio at home, then copy the URL for your project and submit it to your TA. Promise, we'll do that. All right, guys, that is 10.4 right there. Sorry, I thought we had more stuff. I should have scrolled down there. Any questions on that section? I think we kind of answered some of those, but that is all we have for this studio. Next things up are the bonus missions. I'm going to be doing the bonus missions as always. If you want to stick around for those, feel free. But that was the context of this studio. All right. Any final questions before we move on to those bonus missions? Let me keep flying. Okie dokie. Let's do this then. 4.10.5 bonus mission. Our first bonus mission. Isn't this? You guys don't even know. Like, this is just, sorry, it hits me every time. You guys will grow up so fast, but I'm just like reminiscing to this moment. All right, 4.10.5 bonus mission. Use a readline sync to prompt the user, excuse me, the user to enter the value for astronaut count. The value is printed out for astronaut count. Crew mass kilograms and total mass kilograms should change based on the number of astronauts on the shuttle. Don't forget to convert the input value from a string to a number. Oh my gosh, what? How in tarnation are we gonna do this one? Anybody?
It was actually fun.
Right?
Yes.
That's what I like to hear.
We could keep changing the count, and all the numbers like started changing. The whole output changes with one count.
Exactly right. And yes, we're going to learn how to do that. So we have a few things in there that we haven't really talked about in lecture that we have to do for this bonus mission. So first it says read line sync to prompt the user to enter in a value for astronaut count. Okay, calm down, Kyle. Like, what the heck is read line sync? And I'm like, Kyle, that's a great question. Let me explain it a little bit. I'm like, Kyle, I'd love to. What it is that it is a library that we're going to be utilizing in Replit and JavaScript to take in user input. Obviously, from the context of this question, that's what we're going to be using it. But the real question is how the heck do we actually bring it into the application? And that's what we need to explore today. So what we're going to be doing is that we need to create a variable and use some things to bring in this read line sync into our application. So that thing, first, we're going to be creating a variable. And we're not going to be doing a variable of let. We're going to be using another keyword we haven't really discussed yet called const. C-O-N-S-T, const. Const is another keyword that we use to create a variable. Const is different from let in the regards that once you declare a const or a variable and you initialize it, that value cannot be changed. A const value, or excuse me, a const variable's value cannot be changed once initialized. So const, and now I'm going to create a variable I'm going to call input. Why not? So const input equals. And then what I'm going to need is that I'm going to need to bring in this readline sync library. So what I do is I actually use the keyword require. I say read line sync. Now, real quick, what require does is that it's saying, hey, I want you to go out and get this package called read line sync and bring it into my application. So what exactly is a package? What is that thing? That a package. Oh, yeah, give me 1 second. It is functions. You're absolutely correct. Yes. It is a package is something that another individual, another developer or company out in the world has developed and put out for public use. Readline sync is one that comes with JavaScript that we'll have to install into our program, but it's something that someone else out there has developed for us to utilize inside of our own application. So that's what a package is. And we say require, and I want you to require this package and bring it into the application. That's what that purple keyword here does. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and run this and make sure that this works. And what we see when we run it is we see all this output here. And it actually does go away at the very end, but we saw it kind of there just momentarily. That output is saying, hey, I'm bringing in the readline sync package into your program for you. So once we've done that, we have created this input variable that contains all of the stuff from the readline sync package. Now we're able to utilize it. So let's see how we exactly have to do that. We see that we need to prompt the user to enter a value for the astronaut count. Excuse me. Awesome. Let's go ahead and do that. I need to find astronaut count. Here it says 7. We no longer want it to be hard coded into 7. We actually want to prompt the user to give us back an astronaut count. So what I do is I call to input, the thing that just brought in my package, and I'm going to say input dot, question. And then it's going to be dot question. Very good. Yes, dot question. Question is how we prompt the user for the astronaut count. Inside of question, it takes in something too. It takes in a string. something that we can display to the user to tell them what we exactly want, aka the question. So I'm going to type in a question here. How many, oh gosh, told you I can't spell astronaut. Is it embarrassing? Slightly, but you know what? I didn't go to school for spelling. All right, how many astronauts are there? Question mark. Awesome, we typed in a question and now we can prompt the user with this question. Let's see it in action. I'm gonna press run here. It's gonna do some stuff. Don't let me down, Replit. Oh, why did it print out that first?
Kyle, you
Yes.
can clear the console. Then it did it for me too. Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to just remember that the clear button. There it is. Yeah. Usually it should actually do it for me automatically. I'm surprised it didn't. But okay, yeah, thank you. Clear the console using the X in the top right there. And then now we see our prompt. How many astronauts are there? I'm going to say there's 100 astronauts. Why not? Press enter. And now we see that our count for our astronauts is 100. And we come down here and we see that our total mass is this 842,000 number. That's cool. So a lot of this is updated, I think. But we've only gone through one thing. So let's go ahead and run it again. How many astronauts are there? I'm going to say there's only 50. Well, look at this. Now our count has updated to 50. And now our total mass is a little bit lower because we have less astronauts on there. So it looks like this is working. We're actually able to prompt the user for how many astronauts there are and basically use that output into our stuff. Now the question, or sorry, one more thing that it wanted us to do, and I'm gonna go back over here, take a look at that. Oops, wrong thing. Over here is that the values printed out for astronaut count, crew mass, total mass should change based on the number of astronauts. Don't forget to convert the input value from a string to a number. That's one thing I did forget to do. So what I have to actually do is convert our astronaut count to a number, because right now it's a string. And we're gonna double check that it actually is a string. So I'm gonna say type of, and then astronaut, ASTR count. Oh, I'll remember how to spell it here in a second. All right, we're gonna go ahead and see, we're gonna say run, and say 1 astronaut, and take a look at this. I said 1 astronaut, and then it prints out string. Remember, we go sequentially, so my console log on line 8 comes before all of this checklist. So I know it's string. So astronaut count right now is string, and that's not what I want. So what I want to do is convert it real quick. Now, we haven't learned yet how to convert our stuff. So we're going to look at that today. We're going to be doing a thing called casting. So what we're going to say is astronaut count equals, and we're going to reinitialize this astronaut count variable to the number form of whatever the user inputs. So to do that, I'm going to say number with a capital N and say astronaut count. This converts my string to a number. Again, this is called casting. We'll learn more about it in the future, but it's a good little introduction that we can do now. What I'm going to do here, just to make sure that, and just to prove that I'm not blowing smoke, I'm going to console.log the type of, and then astronaut count, just like that. And we're going to go and run it once again. So I'm going to say 1 astronaut here, and now we see it's changed to a number. Real quick, just to see the before and after of that too, we're going to do the type of before the casting and after. I'm typing 1 again. I see it first as a string, and then it's a number. Here, we're proving to ourselves that by using this number with a capital N and then putting in our string inside those parentheses there, we're actually being able to convert the data type from a string to a number. Hence, now all of our actual calculations below can be more trusted, knowing that we're using a number instead of a string. Because remember, the 2 different data types should be treated differently. And it's not very trustworthy to try to multiply a string to a number. Typically, it gets you in a little bit of trouble. So we always want to make sure we're multiplying numbers together. All right.
I have a quick question if you got a moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
So whenever you put it's my understanding that whenever you put like the input question and it comes out as a string, I know sometimes an error is thrown when it tries to add to a number. Is there a reason why the other numbers were being updated, or was that just a coincidence before you turned it into a number?
Yeah, so you saw those numbers still being displayed correctly.
Yes.
And the best way to explain that is that JavaScript is a honey badger. It doesn't care. It really doesn't care. It's trying its best to understand what you actually want. So when I typed in 1 and it came out as a string, and then I multiplied stuff down there to the string 1, JavaScript was like, okay, I think this is a number, so I'm going to treat it as such, and hopefully it works and I don't get an error. And that's what JavaScript will do. What the caveat to that is that's extremely dangerous to do that. Very, very, very dangerous to trust JavaScript on its own judgment, because it's going to do whatever JavaScript wants, so it reduces the amount of errors for you. So Christopher, to answer your question, it's because JavaScript was trying to help you. But what I can say against that is that try not to let JavaScript help you too much, and make sure you're converting your stuff from strings to numbers before you're actually doing that multiplication. So always use that type of to double check that. But that's my best possible answer for that, is that JavaScript's trying to be your buddy, but make sure you keep your space from that and don't trust it all the time.
Okay, I was just kind of curious, 'cause I've dabbled with a little bit of different code, and things like C hashtag or however it's pronounced, it's not as forgiving as that, and I was just curious why.
C Sharp? Yeah, C
Yeah,
Sharp,
sorry.
No, you're okay, you're okay. It's because the JavaScript is a different type of language from C Sharp and Java in those it's called statically typed. So yeah, C Sharp and Java are way bigger sticklers than JavaScript is.
Yeah,
JavaScript
I understand. I was just
okay.
Curious. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, and you will see that Java stickler in action here in Unit 2. But JavaScript in 1 is very mellow. He's like, oh, whatever, man, just throw it my way. I'll deal with it. Sometimes it doesn't, it blows up in your face, but whatever. It's all good. All right. So we are able to see that casting in action there for that astronaut count. Any final questions about that? Because I believe with that out of the way, everyone, we are done. We have successfully read in our user's input, converted it to a number, multiplied it, and now we see that all of our data over here is changing properly. So with that, any final questions about this studio that anyone would like to go over?
Yeah, I mean, I'm having issues. Just I'm getting an error. Can't find module read line sync. Require stack, and I'm looking at your screen, and I thought I typed it in all the same, and it's not working.
So one thing you can do is you can try to refresh your Replit and then try to run again. Sometimes Replit can be a little bit just excuse me. Sometimes it can just be kind of a bugger and just needs it to be refreshed and then try running again.
Not still doing the same thing. It's const input space operator definition or whatever.
Okay. Can you go ahead and copy your code and then just go ahead and send it over to me in Slack?
You directly or just in the?
Yep, go ahead and do it to me directly. And while you're doing that, any other questions?
I just wanted to say, Kyle, that was really nice that you made it so clear, the type of, how the type changed from string to number. I really like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Happy to make it as easy as possible. And if I'm not, let me know and I will try to make it easier. Yes, we are all learning something new. So I'm happy to go as slow or in depth that anybody needs. So let me see this here. Can you send me the error?
All right. This is a tough word.
Piero, can you send me the error that you're getting?
Yeah.
All right. If there's no other questions, everyone, you feel free to hop off. Thank you very much for sticking around this long. It has been an exciting first studio. I hope you had enjoyment in your lecture, your small group, this studio review, and I hope to see you all back on Thursday. Very excited to see you all back on Thursday.
Yeah. Thank you, Kyle.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.